So, if you buy a 60 million dirham penthouse today, you usually get exactly what everyone expects, right?
Yeah, I mean, you get the gold-plated fixtures, the imported Italian marble.
Exactly. Maybe a private elevator or like a glass garage for a supercar.
Right, the usual ultra-luxury checklist.
But what if your real estate investment didn't just give you a beautiful view? What if the architecture, the technology, and the daily service were explicitly engineered to give you an extra 5 years of life?
Which sounds like science fiction, honestly.
It really does. But today, we are diving into a property that claims to do exactly that. Welcome to the deep dive, by the way. Today, we're looking at the Alba.
Yeah, the Alba Dorchester Collection, Dubai. It's located on the Palm Jumeirah. And it's a project by Omniyat that is really aggressively pivoting away from traditional ideas of wealth display.
Right, because we aren't looking at a conventional residential tower here.
Not at all. The developer materials actually describe it as Dubai's first fully integrated well-living destination.
A well-living destination. Okay, so the mission for our deep dive today is to really understand the mechanics and, I guess, the underlying philosophy of this ultra-luxury ecosystem.
Because it's designed from the ground up for longevity.
Yeah, and we are approaching this from a highly analytical perspective. I mean, when you are looking at an asset class built for ultra-high net worth individuals, debating whether a property is simply worth it sort of misses the entire point of the market.
Oh, completely. The target demographic already has access to everything.
Right. So we want to understand how you construct an elite lifestyle asset where the primary return on investment is actually, human vitality.
And to understand the physical building, I think we have to look at the trinity of entities behind it first.
Yeah, because in this tier of real estate, the pedigree of the creators dictates the daily reality of the resident.
Exactly. So first you have the developer, Omniyat. And their footprint in Dubai isn't about volume. It's about shifting the visual landscape.
Like with the Opus or one at Palm Jumeirah.
Right, and the Lana. Projects like that prove they function more like curators of architectural landmarks rather than traditional developers.
And for the Alba, they brought in Zaha Hadid Architects. I mean, even if you only passively follow architecture, you know that name.
Absolutely. They are globally famous for those sweeping, fluid, curved structures.
Yeah, there are almost no harsh 90-degree angles in a Zaha Hadid building. The design notes actually describe a sculptural flow meant to support presence over time.
Which is a beautiful concept. But an incredible building still needs to be run. And that's where the Dorchester Collection comes in.
Right, because bringing Dorchester Collection into a residential space, it completely changes the operational baseline.
It does. They aren't just putting a brand name on the door. They are importing a century of hospitality mastery.
So the rarity of this specific convergence really cannot be overstated.
Wow, it's massive. You have Omniyat's capital and vision, Zaha Hadid's architectural scarcity, and then Dorchester Collection's legendary precision.
All converging on the Palm Jumeirah.
Exactly. It takes the project out of the standard real estate market and turns it into an instant cultural landmark.
Let's ground this with an analogy for you listening. If this project were a bespoke suit, Zaha Hadid is the master tailor cutting the fabric.
I like this.
Right. And Omniyat is the supplier sourcing the absolute rarest materials on earth to construct it.
Yeah.
And then Dorchester Collection is acting as your personal valet, actively anticipating your needs and making sure that suit fits flawlessly every single day you wear it.
That framing really highlights the active, ongoing nature of the project. It doesn't just stop when the building is finished.
Right.
And that active relationship actually starts with how the architecture sits on the actual earth. The master plan secures 250 meters of private beachfront on the Palm.
Which is wild. Anyone familiar with Dubai real estate knows the Palm's crescent and fronds are heavily developed.
Yeah, finding a massive untouched stretch of sand for a new development is essentially a geographic impossibility at this stage.
Which makes the landscaping choices even more fascinating to me. They hired Vladimir Djurovic, an incredibly respected landscape architect, to weave 26,000 square meters of gardens, terraces, shaded walkways, and water features across the footprint.
It's a massive amount of greenery.
But I have to stop and look at the physics of this for a second. With 26,000 square meters of tropical forest and water features right on the beach, how do you drop a massive residential complex into that space without it feeling like, a giant concrete block suffocating a garden?
Well, the solution lies in the interplay between Zaha Hadid's curves and Djurovic's landscaping.
Okay, how so?
Because the architecture uses those arcid sweeping shapes The buildings don't stand in harsh opposition to the environment. The structural forms basically organically emerge from the canopy.
Ah, so there are no massive flat walls just hitting the sand or imposing themselves on the greenery.
Exactly. The curves of the residential terraces actually mimic the movement of the ocean waves and the prevailing winds.
So it's actively manipulating the microclimate then.
It is. The design overhangs and the abundant greenery create these shaded paths. So you can walk from a secluded cabana, up through a raised wellness courtyard, past lagoon-facing decks, and down to the beach without ever feeling exposed to the harsh desert sun.
Wow, so it intentionally blurs the line between the interior and the exterior.
Very much so. The materials used on the inside visually continue to the outside spaces, so your eye isn't just stopped by a glass door.
And I imagine that ties directly into their pursuit of ELED and WELL Gold certifications.
Yes, exactly. The environment has to breathe. The orientation of the structures maximizes natural daylight while using those architectural overhangs to minimize solar heat gain.
Which creates natural cross-ventilation, right? Improving airflow so the building naturally regulates its temperature.
Precisely.
Okay, so the architecture is designed to let the building naturally breathe, which is obviously great for the environment and sustainability targets. But living longer isn't just about breathing clean air on a shaded walkway. What are they actually putting inside this ecosystem that allows them to claim it extends your lifespan?
That is the million-dollar question.
Because honestly, when most developers slap the word wellness on a brochure, they just mean they put a couple of high-end treadmills, a cedar sauna, and maybe a juice bar in the basement.
Oh, yeah. The dilution of the word wellness in luxury real estate is a massive problem, which makes the Alba's approach so critical to analyze. They aren't building a gym. They're building a 3,000 square meter longevity clinic.
Wait, 3,000 square meters?
Yes. We are looking at an infrastructure that supports precision diagnostics, predictive health, and regenerative cellular medicine.
Hold on, let's unpack that for a second. Cellular medicine inside a residential complex. That sounds like a science fiction hospital, not an apartment building.
I know, but think of it this way. Instead of scheduling a standard doctor visit when you feel sick, this facility maps your biology to anticipate what your body will need years before an issue actually arises.
Oh, wow. So they use genomic insights.
Exactly. If your cellular data shows a specific deficiency, your daily IV therapy or your holistic spa treatment is formulated specifically for your biology that exact morning.
That is wild.
And you have world-leading specialists delivering dermoaesthetic medicine, brain health programs, and emotional well-being therapies without you ever leaving your property.
See, that completely reframes the utility of a house. It's treating longevity and physical restoration not as a luxury add-on like, a weekend spa retreat.
Right, it's not a treat.
It's an invisible, seamless part of your daily routine. If your baseline environment is actively tracking your telemetrics, providing regenerative hydrotherapy, and offering perfectly calibrated nutrition, your potential is being optimized while you just go about your normal day.
Because a calibrated environment is the ultimate luxury. The home is transformed from a static place where you sleep into an active machine that keeps you performing at your peak.
And that philosophy extends directly into the private sanctuaries themselves. I know Omniyat has split the residential offering into two very distinct product formats, totaling 137 units.
Yes, to cater to different types of wealth and lifestyle requirements.
Let's break those down. First, we have the Alba Resort Residences. There are 65 of these units coming in 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom formats.
And just to put the scale in perspective, these range from about 140 square meters up to 450 square meters.
Yeah, a 450 square meter 3-bedroom is approaching 5,000 square feet. That is larger than most suburban mansions, entirely on one floor.
Right. And the defining characteristic of the resort residences is that they are fully furnished.
Okay.
Yeah, with selected pieces from Europe's most prestigious heritage brands. They feature integrated home automation technology, and they are completely turnkey. It is a highly curated, frictionless product.
So as a buyer, this is your perfectly optimized 5-star hotel suite experience on a massive scale. You literally bring a suitcase, and the Dorchester Collection handles the rest.
Exactly. But then you have Format 2, which is the Alba residences.
Right, the main residences.
Yeah, there's 69 of these, plus 3 super penthouses. These are expansive 3-bedroom and 4-bedroom layouts, available as simplexes, meaning sprawling single-floor layouts, and duplexes spread across 2 floors.
And the architectural volume in those main residences is just staggering. The ceiling heights soar to 3.2 meters.
which is huge.
Mm-hmm.
In residential design, pushing a ceiling past 3 meters completely changes how light penetrates the room and how sound travels. It creates an undeniable sense of grandeur.
Yeah, you have Juliet balconies for every bedroom, dual balconies in select units, and massive outdoor terraces specifically designed to host events. But the defining feature really is the water integration.
Oh, the private plunge pools.
Yes. Every single unit in the main residences has a private plunge pool on the terrace. And select units even have outdoor jacuzzis on the master wing balconies.
The engineering required to support the weight and water management of private plunge pools on every single residential terrace of a high-rise structure is incredibly complex.
I can't even imagine.
It speaks to the uncompromising nature of the master plan, and the layouts themselves are dual aspect.
Let's explain what dual aspect actually does for the resident.
So a dual aspect layout means the residence spans the entire width of the building, offering windows and views on opposite sides.
Which allows for genuine cross-ventilation, right?
Exactly. You can open doors on both sides and let the sea breeze flow entirely through your home. And visually, it means you aren't just staring in one direction.
Right.
Depending on the unit, you get sweeping panoramic views of the open ocean, the marina skyline, the Burj Al Arab, and the Burj Khalifa simultaneously.
So, as a buyer, you're essentially choosing your preferred flavor of elite living. Do you want the perfectly curated, fully furnished ease of the resort residences, giving you incredible agility?
Right, the hotel lifestyle.
Or do you want the sprawling, ultra-private canvas of the main residences with your own plunge pool hovering over the Arabian Gulf?
Exactly. The main residences offer a canvas for a long-term owner to deeply personalize their space over decades, whereas the resort residences offer immediate, optimized perfection.
But regardless of which format you choose, the real differentiator is the operational software running the building.
The service.
Yes. I want to use a different analogy here. It's like the difference between owning a high-end sports car and having an F1 pit crew.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
The physical building, the marble, the plunge pools, that is the car. But Dorchester Collection is the pit crew. They aren't just cleaning the vehicle.
No, not at all. The residential care program operates at a standard most people only experience during brief stays at the world's most elite hotels, but applied to your permanent daily life.
Right, so the classic services cover the baseline flawlessly. 24/7 residence concierge, dedicated security, doormen, porters, valet parking.
And meticulous housekeeping, laundry, and maintenance.
But the a la carte menu is where that F1 pit crew mentality really shows. We're talking about bespoke in-residence catering.
Yeah, imagine hosting a dinner party on your massive terrace next to your plunge pool, and a Dorchester-trained culinary team is managing the entire event.
And they handle floristry, travel planning, cultural itineraries, yacht charters, restaurant reservations.
It is the discreet management of your personal logistics, designed solely to preserve your time.
Because time and privacy are the only assets ultra-high net worth individuals cannot simply buy more of. The Dorchester service model protects both. Every interaction is measured, anticipatory, and flawless.
Which naturally brings us to the mechanics of actually acquiring this lifestyle.
Right. So handover is currently targeted for Q2 of 2028. And right now, there is a promotional payment plan structured at 30/70.
Meaning a buyer pays 30% during the construction phase and the remaining 70% upon completion.
Now, I have to push back on this from a market perspective. A 30/70 payment plan, meaning 70% is only paid when the keys are handed over, sounds incredibly risky for a developer building a project with 3.2-meter ceilings, cutting-edge cellular medicine clinics, and private pools on every terrace.
It does sound risky on paper.
How is Omniyat financing this without demanding more upfront capital from the buyer?
Honestly, it is a massive flex of financial muscle. Offering a 30/70 plan on an ultra-luxury development de-risks the project for the buyer while proving the developer's intense capitalization.
So Omniyat doesn't need to rely on the buyer's installments to fund the actual construction.
Exactly. It signals absolute confidence that they will deliver the exact vision promised because their financial reward is heavily weighted at the very end of the process.
And for context on the pricing, and we aren't going to read a massive spreadsheet here, but the current market data for this segment places a 2-bedroom resort residence starting at 17.3 million dirhams.
Right.
And that scales all the way up to approximately 59.45 million dirhams for a sprawling 4-bedroom duplex residence with a private pool.
And when analyzing numbers at this altitude, the investment profile really shifts. We are not talking about speculators looking to flip apartments for a quick margin before handover.
Right. Nobody buys a 60 million dirham duplex with a genomic wellness clinic just hoping to make a quick 10% flip next year.
No, you are looking at the fundamental economic mechanics of scarcity and wealth preservation. Dorchester Collection's brand presence mathematically protects the floor of the asset value during market fluctuations.
Because their management guarantees the building will not degrade over time.
Exactly. You combine that operational excellence with a 250-meter beachfront location on the Palm, which is virtually impossible to replicate at this point.
And then add in the architectural scarcity of Zaha Hadid and cap it at only 137 residences total in this highly specific, well-living niche.
The resulting asset holds intrinsic long-term prestige. For an end user or long-term owner, this is a vehicle for wealth preservation that simultaneously pays daily dividends in lifestyle, privacy, and health.
It is a trophy asset in the truest sense.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Its value is anchored by elements, the land, the brand, the architecture, and the science that simply cannot be combined anywhere else in the city.
When you step back and look at this entire ecosystem, you realize you aren't just buying beautiful square footage on a beach. I mean, you can find beautiful apartments in any major global city.
Yeah, easily.
The Alba is an investment in a meticulously calibrated biosphere. It is an environment engineered for personal regeneration, wrapped in world-class design, and sustained by a legendary service team.
It really represents the complete seamless harmonization of nature, biomolecular science, and luxury hospitality.
Which leaves you with a really fascinating societal question to mull over. We've established that this property optimizes your health, predicts your biological needs, handles your daily logistics, and surrounds you with nature.
Right.
If the ultra-wealthy are transitioning to living in closed-loop ecosystems that perfectly optimize every single aspect of their existence, do they ever actually need to leave?
That is a crazy thought.
Right. And what does it mean for the future of our cities when the ultimate trophy asset isn't just a beautiful home, but a self-sustaining private biosphere that you never have a reason to step outside of?
But when your residence offers a better, healthier reality than the outside world, the concept of a city completely changes.
It really does. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the Alba. Until next time, keep exploring the spaces that elevate how you live.